This question came out of nowhere. Best Lands of Lore villain. Now, spoiler alerts everyone, I'm going to be talking about Lands of Lore 3, so if you don't want to hear about what happens in that game, look away now. Or rather, stop listening. If you look away, you'll still be able to hear, but that's besides the point. My favourite Lands of Lore villain is Jakel from Lands of Lore 3, because that comes out of total nowhere, and yet makes perfect sense. Jakel is not doing it out of spite. He's not doing it because he's evil. He's doing it because he wants to survive. He doesn't want to die. Unfortunately, his desire to live will destroy the entire of Gladstone, and we can't have that happen. And also, Copper needs to go and get his soul. The whole shattering the mirror kind of cost him that. And so, Copper ends up going on this quest to go and retrieve the various fragments of the mirror, and along the way, Jakel starts to question what he's doing, and subtly poke at it, and very, very quickly you realise that there is something going on. But Jakel's not actually directly hostile until you get the final fragment, whereupon you realise he's really intent on stopping you. And the final fight is a really tricky fight. I mean, he is made completely of ancient magic from a god. He is difficult to take out. And I always remember his argument that he has with Copper about why they should keep this tether, this lifeline to the ancients still going. And he ends it when Copper refuses to back down with, "Mortals, you're all so stupid." It's just such a great, "Fine, I'll have to deal with this myself," and my, can he do so. Just a fantastic final fight, the build-up is really good, and it's just so awesome. What are some of my favourite independent developers and publishers that are operating in the games industry? Unfortunately, I don't really keep tabs in my head on the names of independent developers and publishers. It's just something that I don't really do, so I have to apologise in that regard and say that I can't answer that question. If I were the god of gaming, what aspects would I change about the industry now as it stands? Well, the first thing I'd do is I would stop being the god of gaming. I would pretty much go, nope, I'm not having this responsibility, and I would stop. Because would that be stressful and frustrating, and everyone would tell me that I'm doing everything wrong no matter what I do, so I wouldn't do it. There's no easy fix to problems in the video game industry. The ones that are there. It's going to take time, it's going to take effort. There's no quick snap your fingers and everything is sorted. If that happened, it would probably just cause more problems than were solved. It's just going to take effort and time. It's going to be a long slog to make things for the better. If you could live the life of one character from an LP for a year, who would it be? Well, that would be Rainer from Albion. Rainer has a really interesting life in that game. He spends some time adventuring, despite being a xenobiologist and really not suited for it. And when he steps back from being an active member of the team, he has a library of vast knowledge of the planet that he's on to read. And he can have debates with the various members of the Gigantos so that they learn about what he knows and he learns about what they know. It's a rich life of discovery and knowledge, and all surrounded by beautiful scenery. So peaceful and serene and calm. I'd love to spend a year in the life of Rainer. And finally in this category, if I were to write a video game, what would it be? Oh my, did I spend a long time... Ooh, goodies. Did I spend a long time fiddling around with RPG Maker 2000. I started many projects in that, and I never finished any of them, because I don't think I'd ever be able to actually get a game done. Writing is very different to making video games, and I just don't think I have the knack for making video games. But if I had the ability to create a video game through some magical power, I would probably actually get the people of Thalion Software together to finish off the Amber Star series with the third game that they were never able to make. That's what I'd probably do, finish that series off. I think it deserves an ending. Let's move on to the other hobbies category. What other hobbies do you have? I have a number of them. I like reading. I love writing. I play D&D and a few other tabletop games. I do exercise nowadays a little bit every weekday. I love going to historical sites and learning things about history and learning in general. Learning is very important. Always make sure you're learning. And then there are some games that I like to play in my spare time, this one included. You've talked about your writing a lot. Can you share more about it? Unfortunately, no. I'm very tight-lipped when it comes to revealing information about my writing projects because I hopefully want to get them published. I'll talk about them more if that does happen, and if they don't end up getting published by a publisher, I'll take steps to self-publish, whereupon I will talk about it more. But right now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say that I can't really talk about it, or rather that I choose not to. I'm sorry. What prep goes into Cthulhu? What prep goes into tabletop gaming in general? A lot of reading is the answer. I read a lot about what's going to happen, think about what things may happen that aren't written there, make sure I have a firm grasp of the rules, and generally make sure I know as much about the setting as possible and what could happen in the whole campaign before a session starts. It's all about prep work. You need to be prepped with the knowledge of what could happen. The worst thing that can happen for me is if I get asked a question about something and then I'm like, oh, well, I need to flick through the pages, can't find what I'm looking for, and then you end up spending 5 minutes trying to find the answer. But 5 minutes trying to find the answer is better than just on the fly coming up with something that's completely wrong. I would rather spend the time ultimately to get things right than get things wrong. But in the end, the more prepared you are, the less likely that'll happen. Any tips for people getting used to tabletop gaming? Especially interactions. My ultimate tip would be, if you're running a tabletop game, make sure everyone's having fun. If you're all having fun, it doesn't matter if you bend some of the rules, if some things don't make complete sense in the setting. Having fun is the ultimate goal, and if that's happening, your session is a success. As for interactions, you don't need to put on extremely flashy voices or anything like that if you want to do interactions. Just focus on thinking about what your character would do and say and voicing that. You don't even need to voice it as if they're talking. You can just say, my character says this, or my character decides to go do that. You don't have to go, well, if you're going to be like that, I will draw the scimitar of Askadu, and I shall slay the void lizards of the 14th dimension. If you do that, then you will never get the crystal scepter of Nag. So be it. I don't need the crystal scepter, as long as I have the wooden spoon of justice. No, not the wooden spoon of justice. I don't know where that came from, it just sort of appeared. It's an example, though, of the kind of interactions you can do, but you don't need to do that. Just make sure you are clear in what you want your character to do, be it through voice-acted dialogue or just stating it to the person playing. If they're a good game master, they'll understand. Who is your favourite D&D tabletop character that you've played? What about your favourite story? I have quite a few characters that I've really enjoyed playing. One of them was Mask from Eberron. He was a very evil warforged that most certainly made a few pacts with a few people that he really shouldn't. But currently, my favourite character is Kiran, my holy liberator who started off life in the Savage Tides campaign as a sort of rough-and-tumble, street-fighting, back-alley combatant. Two-weapon fighting, hand axes, fighter rogue. Went into Street Fighter, and then, later on, totally unexpected when I was originally generating the character, Holy Liberator has really got into the whole paladinic, holy warrior vibe, and I really think it suits him. He worships Tritherion, god of vengeance, and there was a whole subplot that went on for a long time about him seeking his wife who'd been kidnapped by slavers. A wife that he eventually did find alive. It was a whole arc that had all sorts of things in it, like a desire for vengeance that was threatening to consume him, and this relentless hunt against a group of pirates that they did end up going up against. The fight between Kiran and the leader of these pirates was an epic one indeed. He didn't do it alone, of course, he had the rest of the party with him, but it was indeed epic. I'd have to say that he's currently my favourite character. You've mentioned that you play D&D with another group. Have you considered talking to them about uploading some of the sessions that you do? There's no chance of that happening. I know for a fact that they would not be interested in doing it, and I wouldn't really be interested in doing it. I like the fact that that role-playing session, that campaign, is not available for everyone to view. Not everything that I do has to be uploaded after all. What is your biggest regret and triumph in a tabletop or role-playing game with others? Is there a short story you could tell us about it? Biggest regret? I don't think I've had any real regrets about tabletop gaming. Biggest triumphs, though, are usually when you go against the odds and still prevail. Like when we took on a really dangerous demon. We did a lot of planning to buy us time to do buffing and keeping this demon imprisoned behind walls of force, and eventually, when they finally broke through, I was fully ready for this encounter. I attacked with all of my attacks. I had 7, actually I had 8 attacks, I'm thinking. Yeah, I had 8 attacks, and I crit with 2 or 3 of them, and I nearly killed the demon in 1 round. It was fantastic. We were so worried about this fight, and we were just such a cohesive unit that worked perfectly in that combat, and within about 2 or 3 rounds, the demon was gone. It ended with a crit. Just 1 swing of the hand axe, and the head just rolled off. And the feeling of victory was so immense that it was brilliant. That we all just worked together and achieved something great. And that's ultimately what parties do in D&D, work together to achieve things that are great. Do I have any experience with Pathfinder? No, not really. I've never really played it. I've heard it's pretty good, but I have no experience of it. Have I ever considered DMing Savage Worlds? No, not really. Don't really know much about it, I'm afraid. Have you ever heard of the Dark Adventure Radio Theatre? Unfortunately not, but from the sounds of it, it seems particularly interesting. I may have to check it out at some point. But no, I haven't really heard of it. There's lots of things I haven't really heard of. Perhaps at some point I'll play those things, but it's a slow experience experiencing them. Now we get on to the Will You Let's Play X category. I'm going to say to start that most of these are going to be answered with an I'm not going to say no, I'm not going to say yes, because I can't make any promises that I'll ever LP anything. Sometimes I get the urge to play something that I would never expect that I'm going to Let's Play. But let's go through the list anyway. First, Anachronox. Will I LP that? Could do. I don't have any special urge to. I know that it's a story that never got finished, and that might be interesting in itself, but I have no special plans to. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Not likely to happen, as I don't typically play many games in that genre. If you want to watch somebody play that, you should probably check out Halloween 4545. He likes those kind of games a lot. Cosmos Cosmic Adventure. I'm not going to say no, I'm not going to say yes. Much like with Anachronox. Crash Bash. That's likely going to be a no. I didn't really enjoy playing Crash Bash when I got it all those years ago. I was quite disappointed by it. I much preferred Crash Team Racing or Crash Bandicoot 3. Death Rally. No real plans to Let's Play that in the near future. Death Track. Again, no real plans to do it in the near future. Not going to rule it out. The Elder Scrolls games. There are quite a few of them that I enjoy playing. I don't mind Morrowind, I quite like Oblivion, I enjoyed playing Skyrim when I played it. A little less Daggerfall and Arena, because Daggerfall is extremely clunky. Though I will say that the world is absolutely huge, if mostly full of nothing. There is a lot of nothing in Daggerfall. You can travel around for absolutely ages and find only barren countryside. It's truly massive. I could end up doing an Elder Scrolls game, but I don't make any promises. They are quite vast after all. Fallen London stuff. Now, this is an interesting one. Fallen London, the website itself, probably not, but Sunless Seas or Sunless Skies, that could be a possibility. Those two are more likely than most of the others on this list. I do most certainly enjoy the setting, and I do know a fair bit about it, so who knows? Maybe. The Halo series. Now, I have to put my hand up here and say that I really haven't played many games in the Halo series. I've played Halo 1, I've played Halo Reach, and that's it. I've never played any of the other ones. I don't have any nostalgia for them, and no real desire to play any of the other ones right now, but who knows? Maybe I'll play Halo 2 at some point. No promises though. More hardcore Minecraft. Now, I could see myself playing Minecraft in the future at some point. I don't know when, but I could certainly see it happening. A lot has changed after all since I last did a hardcore Minecraft playthrough. Who knows? We may get an effective Season 3. I make no promises as to when, though. Heretic and Hexen. I could do. They're games I have no real experience in. I may end up doing so. I can't promise that I will, but they are games I've occasionally looked at with interest. LHX Attack Chopper. Not a game I've really considered. Not really a big fan of that kind of game. I put that on the most likely not, but again, I won't rule it out necessarily. More goodies! I don't know what they are yet, because I can't see the message saying what it is. That'll be a surprise for later. Neverwinter Nights modules. Now, I've played a few of them, and I know that there are others that I could play. There's probably a veritable gold mine of all kinds of modules that I could play. I'm not going to specifically say I'll do any of them, though. I could do, I could not. It all depends on if one of them takes my fancy. Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. Now, I really enjoy that game. I'm also extremely bad at it. Really, really bad. If I did a Let's Play of it, it would be a disaster. A train wreck of failure and not finding all the secrets. That would be a game you definitely have to do with a walkthrough if you wanted to complete it, finding everything. And I would struggle. I mean, maybe one day I'll give it a go, but I would definitely struggle. Pathfinder Kingmaker. Don't really know much about Pathfinder, as I said before. I could potentially do a Let's Play on it, but not while I have Baldur's Gate 2 going. I think I might not do a D&D type game for quite a while after Baldur's Gate 2. Baldur's Gate 2 is quite long after all. Phoenix Point. No plans to do Phoenix Point at this time, or probably for quite a while. I like XCOM UFO Defense and I like the UFO series, but I don't have any real itch to play Phoenix Point now. The new XCOM? Possibly. Who knows? Pillars of Eternity. That goes into the same sort of I could potentially do it, but not while Baldur's Gate 2 is going, as Pathfinder Kingmaker. Prince of Persia 1. Another game I really like that I'm really, really bad at. I would struggle so badly at doing that game. But one day I may give it a go, but then again I did sort of do a playthrough of that already. I'm sure you might have seen it. It was brief. Okay, that doesn't count as an actual playthrough, but it's still there if you want to watch it. The Quest for Glory series. I have heard some good things about this. I've not really experienced it very much. Possibly, maybe. I know it's quite long. Can't make any promises about that one, but it is something that has intrigued me from time to time. Space Quest 5 and 6. I don't know about those ones. I may end up going to them, but I don't really have any experience with 5 or 6 myself. But I could do, who knows? I would like to see how they play and how the plot progresses. I could do them. System Shock 1 or 2. I'd be more likely to play 1 than 2. Halloween did a really good series on System Shock 2. You should go check that out. That doesn't mean that I won't necessarily play 2, but it is more likely that I'd start with 1. But again, I make no promises that I'll do that anytime soon. Terror from the Deep? See the if I get to 100,000 subscribers thing from earlier. The sea will claim everything. I have never heard of this game. I would put that into the I'm not going to rule it out, but I won't say yes category that most of the other ones go to. The Thief games. Now, I do like the Thief games. They are pretty fun, and they can get really difficult. Of all the games on this list, that's a series that's more likely than most. Uh-oh! Random event time! Is it one I'll be able to do by myself? The answer is... Oh, it's a treasure turtle! Oh my luck today. I'd like goodies. I'll take 300,000 gold. Marvellous. How handy. Normally I'm not on this world because there are lots of people on the other world I typically fish on, and you can get some experience boosts sometimes. But being here has had an advantage. Very happy about that. Talking about the Thief games, wasn't I? Ah, yes I was. I do like Thief 1, I also like Thief 2, so who knows? Maybe? Tomb Raider? Not really much experience with the Tomb Raider franchise. Played one a bit, didn't like it that much. Probably not likely, but again, I won't rule it out. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines? Maybe? I don't know. Halloween's done some great Let's Plays on that. I'd recommend you go check them out if you want to see that game. As for me, possibly. I don't know. It could happen. I'd have to think carefully about what kind of character I'd have to make. It's a possibility. I'll put it down as a possibility. Warcraft 1. No real experience with Warcraft 1. Would be intriguing to look at. Possibly. It is a real-time strategy game, and I don't typically like them, but who knows? And finally, Xenonauts. I have no plans to do Xenonauts at present. It's much like Phoenix Point. I like the XCOM style games that I do. I've got them. I may do the new XCOM 1 and XCOM 2 at some point. I have no current plans for Xenonauts. And now we have the very short Will You Replay X category. I did get a couple of requests for replays, so let's go through these. Crusader Kings 2. Now, I really enjoyed playing through Crusader Kings 2 the first time round. If I'll enjoy it as much again the second time round, who can say? I probably would, because there's a lot more stuff for me to come to grips with. I don't have all of the expansion content yet, as it were. If I were to do that, I'd have to get all of them, and then activate everything except the Aztec invasion, because I don't like the Aztec invasion. And then we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll have an immortal horse! I do know that can happen. It would be interesting if it did. Lands of Lore 2 and 3. Put that in the it's going to happen at some point, I just don't know when category. I do really like Lands of Lore 2 and 3. I'd do 2 first, of course. It's just a matter of when I end up doing it. King of Dragon Pass. Possibly? I don't know. I'd have to do a long game to make it different from the last time I played it, and I probably wouldn't be able to win at all. I've never won a long game in King of Dragon Pass, so that would be a spectacular failure. I could do it, I've not decided yet. Mountain Blade Warband. I have had a plan for quite a while for a Mountain Blade Warband replay. I'd probably go with Swadia and stick with ranged combat and watch as Swadia gets absolutely destroyed. I'd also pump up the difficulty so that I'd lose all the time, as opposed to when I first played it when the difficulty was a lot lower. Would I succeed at what I wanted to do? Probably getting a castle of my own? Probably not. But success is not always why you do things. Sometimes watching the failure is even more enjoyable. If that would be the case with me playing with Swadia, remains to be seen. Finally, we're on to the miscellaneous questions, and there are quite a few of these. We'll start with the easiest. How old am I? I am currently 33 years old. When is my birthday? You'll probably figure it out when it happens, because I tend to announce that it's my birthday when it happens. It does happen in November though, so keep your eyes open for it. Do I have a beard? Yes, I do. Do I have a favourite car? No, I tend not to pay attention to particular types of car. For me, a car goes brum brum and has wheels. That's pretty much all it needs to do. What is my favourite band? Ooh, Saren Spirit. Very nice. I have quite a few favourite bands. I like Yes, I like Rick Wakeman, I like Midge and Ultravox, I like the Human League, I like the Eurythmics. I also like quite a few bands that do retro synth and the like. I like Lost Years, I like loads of them in that particular genre. I couldn't even begin to name all of them, particularly because I tend to just go through quite a lot of them at random on YouTube when I'm writing, and I don't often remember the name. Sometimes I'm going, what was that one song? And then I have to spend ages searching and hoping that I'll come across it. I do like using retro synth when I'm writing for inspiration. What is my favourite type of candy? I love white chocolate. White chocolate is wonderful. I just love the taste of it. I like all chocolate, to be fair. I also love salted caramel. I generally have a huge sweet tooth, but I don't eat as much of it as I used to. Not because I don't like it, because I love it, but because I know that I shouldn't eat as much of it as I did back in the past. I want to make sure that I don't eat too much and rot away my teeth, or all the other things that happen when you eat way too much chocolate. What's the worst food I've ever tried? If you give me a meal that has tons of onions in it, I'm not gonna like it. If you give me a meal that has loads of vegetables in it, like lettuce, I don't like lettuce at all, I won't eat it. If you give me a banana, I won't eat it. For me, there's something to do with the texture of food more than my taste. Texture can really make me dislike a food. So generally, if the texture is off, I won't eat it. And I can't tell you what an off texture is. My brain doesn't give me such direct and simple information. It just goes, I don't like this. And I go, why? I just don't like it. What's your favourite movie that's so bad it's good? So bad it's good movies? I have another question like this. Someone asked if I liked really bad movies. Sometimes they're so bad they're bad. But there are some movies that I enjoy that aren't especially good. I like The Black Hole, for instance. That's a really enjoyable movie for me. And I also like Felix the Cat the movie. That's a childhood movie of mine. I still like watching it to this day, even though it's not that great. Let's assume you have a one-time opportunity to wipe a part of your memory related to a single thing, be it a novel, a video game, or a movie, so that you could experience your first time with it a second time in your life. Would you take it? If yes, what is that thing you'd like to have one more first taste of? I wouldn't do that because there's no guarantee that I would ever be exposed to the thing that I ended up wiping my memory of a second time. You'd think I'd go for something like Albion or Lands of Lore or Stonekeep, but I only encountered them by chance when I was younger, and the nostalgia I have for them is so specifically tied to encountering them at the time I encountered them. It wouldn't be the same if I experienced them again for the first time now. There just wouldn't be that magic, as it were. I'm playing them now as a 33-year-old as opposed to a person that's a lot younger. And it wouldn't have the same influence. I mean, these games were are a huge influence on many things in my life, including my creative drive. My writing is influenced a lot by the things I experienced in video games and in books, and I wouldn't want to erase that. It's part of my life. How did I meet Halloween, Kikoskia, etc.? I've been asked this a few times, and the answer is pretty humdrum, I'm afraid. I started watching Halloween's videos, and I decided to message him on YouTube, and we got talking a bit, and then I asked if we could talk on Skype. We did. It was rather awkward to begin with, but slowly we became friends, and over time, Halloween introduced me to everyone else. To Kikoskia, to Ollydag, to Phil, to Luke, all through initially knowing Halloween. It all led to knowing all of them, and I'm glad that I know them all. They've become really good friends of mine over the years. I've known them for a very long time. A very long time. Has anyone recognized me in public by my voice alone? No. No, they haven't. And I doubt they will, because my voice does sound a little different on the microphone purely because it's being caught by a microphone. If it does happen, I'll let you know. What country, city, or place would I like to visit the most, and why? That is a tricky one. Where would I like to go? There are lots of places I wouldn't mind going. Just because of the, if I could go anywhere, absolutely anywhere, it would probably be a week last Tuesday. Well, why? Don't you remember? I finished the laundry, and then we watched TV. Want to see what likes of those kind of days again. I apologize for the random Red Dwarf reference. It just came into my head, and I felt like saying it. If I could go anywhere, I would probably actually go back in time. I would probably go back in time in a sort of bubble so that nobody could interact with me, I couldn't interact with the world. All I could do is watch and not impact anything. I would go back to the medieval era and just watch a day in my life of a medieval city and just see how things were. That would fascinate me to no end. Even if I couldn't understand what they were saying, I would still love to do that. It would fascinate me to no end. Will I ever name a character 3 slices of cheese? I can safely assure you that no. Chances are practically non-existent on that. When will we hear chain gun again? What about right now? Chain gun! Ha ha! Marvelous. Always love saying that. As for when you'll hear it in a Let's Play, probably when I find a game that has a chain gun in it. That's typically when I do that. What would be my ideal date with a stranger? Well, I wouldn't date a stranger, so that question kind of falls apart, I'm afraid. I'd want to get to know such a person first before I did that. And how many rocks have I picked up during my adventures? Well, the answer to that is far too many. Way, way too many. I wouldn't even know where to begin when it comes to cataloguing that. The number would just be far, far too big. And with that, folks, I have answered the questions for the 7,000 video Q&A. Thank you to everyone who submitted a question. I enjoyed reading them, and I really enjoyed answering them. As for what else I may do for 7,000 videos, I don't know. I haven't quite thought about that yet, despite it being quite a while since the milestone happened. I've just had so many other things to do and think about. But thank you all for taking the time to listen to this Q&A, and I hope that the questions were illuminating. As for the future, I know that I'm going to continue recording Let's Plays. That's not going to change. As long as I keep enjoying doing it, I'm going to continue to do it. And I hope that you enjoy the videos that I put up. And so, I'm Kikoskia, and thank you all for continuing to watch me for all these years, for over 7,000 videos of content. It's a huge amount of time. I don't even want to think about how much time in just video alone that is. Not including all the time for editing, compressing, uploading, making playlists, making descriptions, and everything else. It's just so much a part of my life. It is a sizable portion of my life. And I love that it is. I have no regrets about Let's Playing, and I'm sure that won't change as time goes on. And so, when we come back, folks, videos as normal. But there'll be less fishing. I'm sorry. I know you all love fishing ever since you watched that video of me fishing in World of Warcraft. You've all been clamoring for more fishing content. Well, maybe if you all ask nicely, I may put up more fishing. Maybe. Possibly. And so, I'll catch you next time, folks, and I'll see you then. Later.